saying?
Tell me.
Because I don't understand what is missing from Tina. I don't understand what's missing from India either. Like, if you're not happy, Scott, then go home, babe, because you could have done all of this at home.
Listen, I will go home.
But I don't understand. She's crying. India was crying, babe. It's unfair.
I called it at the time that she was picked as the most popular girl in the villa that this was not the right decision. And it seems production, I've said it before, I'll say it again. They must have been the ones that made her popular. They must have been the ones that decided to give Elma this power. Because the audacity to try and dictate who leaves the villa and who doesn't make sense. She was single for days on end and nobody told her to go home, and yet suddenly she is dictating who goes home. And do I buy Scott's reason for going home? No, I think he wanted to save his image. I think he was worried that the longer he stayed, the worse he would look. So this is why he's chosen to go home. I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but hey, it is what it is. Hey there, thanks for stopping by. It's your girl Valerie. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, click the like button, turn on the notification bell when I upload new videos, and definitely leave a comment. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Love Island All Stars Season 2, Episode 18. I really want to pretend to be surprised, but I'm not. Am I surprised that Curtis chose Ekin-su? No. Because he knew that if he chose Danielle, then there would just be, backup dancers for the rest of the villa, and he would be dragged for filth. And so he's decided to make a smart move instead of an emotional move. For him to say, I've always told you I liked you. And it's like, that's not enough. That's not enough. You are not seriously into Ekin-su, and we all can tell that. The reason why you've chosen her is because there'll be a lot of backlash from the other islanders, one, and also the viewers. Ekin-su's fans would really drag you for filth, and this is why. Because after he chose her, you could see he was so... Everybody at the fire pit couldn't understand, because he was in his head, he was thinking, he couldn't even look at Danielle. Because Danielle and Tina were the two girls left standing. And so... it made everybody question. Even Ekin-su, initially she was excited and then went into this phase whereby she was questioning it. And it makes me wonder, was he the one who decided to pick Ekin-su, or did the producers make him pick Ekin-su? Because Ekin-su didn't have another option in the villa. None of them could sell a relationship with Ekin-su except for Curtis, because everybody else doesn't seem to really be into her. So it makes me question, was this his choice, or was it a production choice, or was it just him being smart and realizing that Ekin-su will get him more screen time, will get him more mileage on the show as compared to everybody else? Make that make sense? You have Scott stand up and he talks about Tina, like, thank you very much for making me peppermint tea. Thank you for, I don't show as much gratitude as I should. Thank you for this. Thank you for that. And it's like, you're supposed to be in a romantic connection. You're not supposed to be thanking someone as though you're thanking housekeeping. That's what you're more or less doing. It's a speech about housekeeping and not about someone that you're in a romantic connection with. Make that make sense? Ron was the last one to pick, and I really loved his speech. His speech was even way better than Curtis and Scott combined, because he spoke about the fact that he didn't agree with the way, Danielle had been treated. She came in, she followed her heart and did what she thought was best, and sadly that hadn't panned out, because he's been in the same situation. So I get why he said that, and you could tell she was really touched. And so he chose to couple up with Danielle. I think they could actually be a very cute couple. I think they could be a cute couple, and I think they're way better than her and Curtis, because Curtis doesn't know what he wants. He is like the wind. He just goes wherever we think we're going, that's where he's going. So everybody leaves the fire pit. Everyone is in shock. No one can understand what happened between Curtis and Ekin-su, because nobody knows what changed. Because the last time everybody knew anything, Ekin-su was saying that she doesn't want to talk to Curtis again, and suddenly she's cheesing and she's smiling. So people are just saying, oh, they're weird. It was a performance. Everybody can tell it was a performance. Curtis is at the fire pit with Ekin-su. They're having a conversation, and he's sort of telling her that, I took a gamble. I just chose you because you had said you never wanted to talk to me again, and I'm sorry I didn't shut things down. I should have been more honest with you. And it's like, make it make sense. You were saying to Danielle you shouldn't have shut things down with Ekin-su, and now you're saying to Ekin-su you should have stayed shut down. Which is it? I don't get it, and I don't understand it. You have Ronnie go up to the terrace with Harriet. Harriet is on cloud 9. She's very grateful for, Ronnie's speech. It really came from the heart. And he said, I've got you. I've got you. You've changed me into the person that I didn't know I could be. And she says, I always knew you were there, but it was just a matter of time for you to come out of your shell. And it was the cutest thing ever. I really loved it for them. I really did. You have Curtis pull Danielle for a chat, and it's like, why? I think he's got buyer's remorse. I think if it was in the real world, he would have gone with Danielle, but here he is, and he's stuck, and he's trying to mend bridges with Danielle. He's sort of saying to her, I'm sorry, I should have told you I was shut down. It took me too long. And Danielle wasn't buying it. She just said to me, it would have taken you 2 seconds just to say I'm shut down. You didn't need to put up with all this. I didn't need 3 days of you being undecided in order for us to get here. And it makes me question, was he doing it for the clout, or was he doing it because he wanted screen time? Or was he doing it because he really had a romantic connection with her? Which is it? It makes me question. You have Gabby and Tina go to the terrace, and they're having a conversation about Scott because, they're all sort of worried that Scott might not be feeling her the way that she is feeling him. And so the question is, does she continue with this thing or does she move on? And you have Gabby sort of saying to her, you need to make a choice. You can't continue to wait for him. If you want to wait for him, amazing. If you don't want to wait for him, amazing. Scott is busy downstairs telling the guys that, I feel some type of way because everybody else is exploring romantic connections and I am not yet there and I don't know whether I'll ever get there. And it's like, we've heard this story before. We heard it with India. We're hearing it now with Tina. It's not the girls, it's you. It is not the girls, it is you. You are the problem. You are the problem. And it's a matter of the girls deciding that, what do we want? Do we want to continue to be with this problem, or do we want to keep it stepping and be with someone who really finds us appealing or romantically attractive to them? Because otherwise this man is just wasting my time and it's pointless for me to continue to waste my time. And I can't wait to see what happens, because if Tina continues putting up with this mess, then it's on her. It's not on anyone else. It is on her. So we finally get Catherine and Elma go for a chat. And they're just telling each other, I really like you, I really like you. We had a spark. And then suddenly we disappear from them. And it's like, seriously, what is it about Catherine that the producers are always sort of trying to keep her off camera unless she's saying something that they feel will trigger a certain group of people? What is it? Because it doesn't make sense. She's been in there. This is week 3. At least allow her screen time to have conversations with Elma so that we understand that connection and we understand why he chose her. Yes, he said there was a spark when they first met. He chose her on the basis of their first date. But what else did they talk about? Give us more screen time. That would be amazing. You have Luca and Grace go up to the terrace to have a conversation. Luca is saying he wants to tell her how he feels. He didn't want to do it in front of everyone. And it's like, are you doing that because you're telling her the truth, or are you doing that because you're telling her porkies? Which is it? I don't quite understand Luca and Grace. I don't know whether Grace really likes Luca or whether Grace likes Luca enough to tolerate him. Because she did the same thing with Joey. Just because she's physically intimate, I'm not buying it. She was physically intimate with Joey when she came into the villa, and then they became sworn enemies. So her being intimate with Luca means nothing to me. And it makes me question, is she really feeling him that way, or is she just doing it just because, she knows that this is her opportunity to win the show? Yes, she's got her own marketing agency, so 25K might not be much, but still the clout that comes with being a winner, I think, is what she's after. That's just the impression that I get. You have Scott go and have a conversation with Tina, and he's sort of saying to her, I am struggling because it's still not there. Whatever we need to do is still not there. I can cuddle you in bed, I can kiss you, but I can't do any more than that. So it's like, how are you comfortable kissing her if you're not attracted to her enough to do anything else? Why are you doing that? Why are you leading her on? Why not just be a couple whereby you just lay side by side and you don't touch each other? Which is it? And so for her to break off things, it was about time. It's been a long time since she was attracted to this man. They've tried to explore it. It hasn't worked. She needs to keep it stepping. After 9 years, you don't need someone to reject you more than twice on a national TV show. He already rejected it the first time, and then he's rejected it the second time. She needs to get it into her head that he is not it. As much as she's into him, he's not into her. And it's okay. She will find her person in the villa or outside the villa, but she doesn't need to continue to humiliate herself. So she storms off. She goes, she's crying. She's being consoled by Danielle. And Danielle is just trying to sort of be there for her because she's trying not to break down. The guys go to Scott and he tells them that, oh, I finally told her that, there's nothing there. We've just ended things. And it's like, yeah, you should have ended things the very first time, but you wanted to stay in the villa. And so in order to do that, you decided to keep stringing her along. Part of me thinks maybe he wants to try it out with Danielle. This is why he's decided to call it quits, because he knows Curtis is not going after Danielle romantically. So she's an opening for him, because otherwise there's no justification as to why he did that. Tina goes into the girls' changing room and then she's crying. Elma comes in and she tries to be the voice of reason. If you've been here, Elma is not one of my favorites because of the way she treated Kaz and the way she's treating Scott. Scott is wrong for what he did. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to back Scott and his nonsense. But still, for Elma to think she's the voice of reason, she is the one who dictates what happens in the villa, doesn't make sense to me. For her to say Scott needs to go home because he's not attracted to, to this girl, doesn't make sense. She stayed in the villa after Ronnie turned his head for Harriet, and she didn't have a romantic connection until Sammy came in. So what gives her the right to tell Scott that you need to go home? What gives her the right to say that? I don't get it. And Scott was walking around the villa like a lost sheep because he then said, okay, I'll go home tomorrow. And it's like, well, if you're going to stand on your business and say you're not attracted to girls, why should you be intimidated into leaving by somebody else? Make that make sense. Why should you be intimidated by Elma to say, since you don't like Tina, you need to go home because you refused Tina, you refused India? He's not attracted to them and it's okay. He will find his person and they will find their person when the time comes. So it is what it is. You don't need to force it. Scott tried to leave the girls' changing room and still went upstairs, and you had, Tina being consoled by the guys, and it's like, this is not going to work very well for him. This is not going to end well. Even when he leaves the villa, if he decides to leave the villa, because there's rumors that he left the villa, it's still not going to end very well for him, because the viewers are going to drag him for this, because he was wrong for the way he handled the whole situation. He should have done better. He should have known better. Luca did try to stand up for his boy, but still, it didn't make any difference. All the islanders go to sleep and he doesn't share a bed with her. So he sleeps downstairs. I think they made a bunk bed for him somewhere. I think he didn't want to sleep outside. So in the morning, everybody comes back up to the bedroom and it's still tense. It's still ox galore. You have poor Tina is in her feelings. You feel some type of way. Scott walks in and I think Scott expected everyone to get over whatever nonsense he tried to pull over them. And the fact that people are still holding his feet to the fire is something that he didn't expect. That's the impression that I get. So you have everyone go downstairs. There's no debrief, which is amazing. But then you have a conversation sort of between Tina and, of all people, Curtis. So she's just explaining that, she feels like he led her on. A lot of people, myself included, know that he led her on. He didn't like India for a fact. There was nothing there. But with Tina, he knew he could sort of try and push it. But then in trying to push it, I think there's things he's not prepared to do on TV, such as having sex, and so this is why he was trying to keep her at arm's length. And when he realized that he was developing stronger feelings for him that would require him to act on them, I think this is why he sort of pulled back. Tina is distraught. And it's like, why are you distraught? This man, you knew him 9 years ago. When you left the villa, he didn't even make a move to try and sort of follow you up or try and link up with you. So why should you be distraught that he's not into you? It's okay. You will find your person and you need to keep it stepping. You have, him come across to her, Scott, and sort of ask her for a chat. And she tells him that, I'm not in the mood. I really don't want to talk to you. And I think he is trying to make amends. I have a feeling he likes another girl in the villa, but he's trying to make sure that he leaves this slate clean. That way, when he makes moves, no one calls him out. That's the impression that I get. You have Elma sort of having a conversation with Luca and she's upset that, oh, I sent people home. I could have saved those people. Instead, I sent people home. I sent my friend Kaz. And it's like, Kaz is not your friend. Kaz is not your friend. Kaz, if you ever come across this, Elma is not your friend. The way she treated you after the Ronnie situation, that's not how you treat a friend. The way she made it seem like you were that thirsty and that desperate and didn't have the nerve to sort of call you aside and say, my dear, listen to what people like Ekin-su are saying about you. Just ignore them. You and I are good. She didn't do that. So for her to shed crocodile tears and be crying that I sent my best friend home just because I was trying to save somebody else. You sent your best friend home because you knew if she stayed in the villa, you were worried that she would connect with the person that you're connecting with. That's it. You are not confident in yourself, and you felt like, maybe Sammy's head would be turned towards Kaz if you sent Montel home. This is the reason why you sent her home. Please don't pretend like you're friends with Kaz and you're that aggrieved. You're not that aggrieved, so please keep it stepping. You have Ronnie having a conversation with Danielle, and they're sort of just assessing their connection and where they are. And they're being honest in the sense that they're saying at the moment there's nothing there romantically. And but we're open to exploring to see if we can actually build something, which is the best policy in the villa, even though it's backfired for Scott. But Scott wasn't being genuine. Let's be for real. Scott wasn't being genuine. So you have, Danielle confide that, just imagine Curtis was trying to give me advice on my connection with you, and I told him I don't need your advice. After all, whatever nonsense he was trying to tell me, I wasn't listening. And it's like, Danielle is that girl. She's not going to put up with mess. She really is not. So I think Curtis expected her to throw a tantrum. I think he expected her to throw an Ekin-su and be screaming and shouting around the villa, but she didn't. She just kept it stepping and moved on to the next one. She just went, you must not know about me. I have a terrible singing voice. So the idea that, she is confiding in Ronnie, and they're saying, you never know, we might fall in love and then fall out of love in 2 weeks. And it's like, they're taking the mic, they're taking the piss, they're actually mocking Ekin-su and, Curtis. And I'm here for it because Ekin-su and Curtis think they're giving us theatrics, and we can all see through that. So you have Scott pull Luca for a chat, and they go to the fire pit. He reveals that he's decided to leave. Am I surprised? No. Am I surprised? No. I think Scott, there's one of two things. I think he's been battling with his sobriety, with the stresses that come with being in the villa, one. And I also think that he's been trying to make sure that he gets a very good edit. He comes across as a very honest and very humble guy, because he kept saying, I've been honest, I've been honest, I've been honest. So I think because he realized that his move might not be as popular to sort of end things with Tina, this is why he's decided to leave. Well, they said they were brothers in the villa before, but I didn't realize that they were that close that Luca would start crying. It seems Luca is very tearful about everything in the villa this season. Everybody is asked by Scott to gather around the fire pit, and some of them suspect that he's going home. So he reveals that he's decided to leave the villa and go home and sort of, deal with his issues at home. And you have the likes of Elma pretending to cry, and it's like, Elma, please keep quiet. Please keep quiet. You're the last person we want to see cry, because you were the one who was shouting the loudest that he needed to go home because he hadn't made things work with Tina. So the idea that you're suddenly crying that, why is he going home? Please keep quiet. I'm not buying that nonsense. Everybody else is just shocked. You have Casey crying because he's distraught. He doesn't know what to do. Tina is heartbroken because I think she felt like they could have had a conversation later at some point and ironed out whatever issues they had. But he has chosen to go home, and no one could convince him otherwise, I think, because they all knew of the battles that he was battling. You have Scott pull Tina for a chat, and he's sort of saying, I wish you all the best. I hope you find your person. I think it's time for me to go home. I've done all I could, and it's time for me to sort of pack up and leave. And it's like, well, if he wants to pack up and leave, it is what it is. It is what it is. He packs his stuff. The guys are devastated because one of their own is leaving, and they are sort of very low in mood. And you have even Elma acknowledge that, I've only been in the villa a couple of days, but it seems you brought a sense of brotherhood in the villa, so I really am going to miss that. He says his goodbyes, and he has a chat with Maya Jama, sort of saying that, I did everything I could. I expected to have an instant spark with someone, but it didn't work out, and sadly it's my time to go home. I expected the same connection that I had when I first came in, first time round, when he on his first season, when he paired up with Katie, but he didn't get that. And so he's asked, will you explore a thing with India? And he said no. with India. I just want us to go back to our friend zone. And it's like he never left the friend zone with India. He's trying to tell us, Pokies, he never left the friend zone with India. He never had those feelings for India that would make him want to sort of explore anything romantically. So the idea that he's trying to tell us this doesn't make any sense to the likes of me. It doesn't make any sense. I don't know. I can't wait to see who comes in. Apparently it's going to be a heart rate challenge, so we'll see what happens there. We know that Catherine outdid herself last season, so I can't wait to see what she does this season. Thanks guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe, and click the link in my video to watch my review from episode 17. Bye guys.